What would you do if a masked group of men showed up in your town, occupied your streets, took your neighbors, and killed people in broad daylight? For most Americans, that still feels like a hypothetical. But for the people of Minneapolis and so many other places around the country, it's now. As I'm recording this, it's been about 3 months since Renee, Nicole and Alex Pretti were killed by federal agents. No one has been held accountable, and the administration has been clear. They believe these agents operate with absolute immunity. In the last couple of episodes that we filmed in Minneapolis, we talked with veterans Matt Gordon, Riveter, and Ian Austin about how they've responded to the lawlessness of ICE, putting their bodies on the line to protect their neighbors, friends, and strangers alike. And even though those episodes were heavy, we also talked about the importance of joy and community in fighting against fascism. That's why we went to Minneapolis. And that's why I want to bring you there with us in this episode. Valor Media Network, Veterans Fighting Fascism, and the Save America movement partnered with the Dropkick Murphys to help bring joy and meaningful support to a battered and brave community. The primary purpose of the Abolish ICE.live concert, protest, and fundraiser was to honor the lives of Good and Pretti by supporting the people on the ground who've been taking care of their communities through months of fear and disruption. But it was also to help Americans across the country learn from them, because what they've endured isn't isolated. It's spreading. It's coming for the rest of us. And they can teach us not just how to endure, but how to grow stronger. In this episode, I'm bringing you to Minneapolis. You're going to see what it looks like on the ground. You'll hear what it sounded like in that crowd and on stage with the Dropkick Murphys. You'll go backstage and hear directly from the people who made this whole thing happen. You'll hear an exclusive interview with Ken Casey, frontman of the Dropkick Murphys, about why, after 30 years, he and the band are still standing up for the working people. And you'll hear from Gina Christ, who owns the restaurant Black Forest Inn across the street from where Pretti was brutally murdered. She hosted the concert and all of the interviews for these episodes. If you're listening to this on an audio platform, you're in for a treat. You're going to hear live performances of some of Dropkick Murphys' best songs, including one that's yet to be officially released, and that's called Don't Call Me a Terrorist. But if you can watch this, I want you to see it on Valor Media Network's YouTube channel, because that's how you're going to get the complete experience. This is what's happening in Minneapolis, and this is what it looks like when a community refuses to back down.
Don't ever forget, abolish ICE. And with that, I want to talk about a punk rock band who's been standing with the people since 1996. Please welcome the Dropkick Murphys! Hey. Thank you all for coming out today. My God. I don't usually talk through sound check, but here we are. I just want to say that America's been watching you, and you've made us all so fucking proud, man. And who'd have thought of all the people, the nice, kind, fine people of Minnesota showing they got balls of steel? Oh, yeah. You might be surprised to hear this. I came here with them. Yes. It's the roadiest sound check we've ever had.
Hell, yes, accordion. Can I get some accordion in the wedge, please?
By the way, for those, I don't know if anyone told you, but
Our van broke down on the way over and everyone had to take an Uber, so there you go.
Why don't we do the first song while they're working
Let's
on
do
the
it.
banjo?
Let's
okay?
do the first song. Thank you.
Well, just before we start, we can't thank you. I know I already said it, but we cannot thank you enough for all you've done on behalf of freedom and democracy in America. And I know you're defending your own spot, but you've done a lot more than just defend your own neighborhood. You've shown us, you've given us all a lot of hope and spirit. And obviously, to be standing here across the street from Alex's memorial is something I feel like every American should have to come witness with their own eyes, and we're honored that we could be here today to see this. We want to dedicate this to Alex's family, Renee's family, and all the other people that have been killed by ICE and by this government, whether it be at a gun, whether it be in a detention center, whether it be because they didn't get the treatment they should have received in that detention center. We want to dedicate this to all those people who have suffered at the hands of our own fucking government right now. This one's called Who'll Stand With Us. Are you with us? And as time rolls on, not a single thing has changed, and the wealth gap's only grown as we all point the blame at the throats of one another. Though we share a single fate, and the golden fuel laps on and on as we all take the bait. Through crime and crusade, our labor has been stolen. We've been robbed of our freedom. We've been held down and beholden to the bosses and the bankers who never gave their share of any blood, of any sweat, of any tears. Oh, stand with us. Oh, don't tell us everything is fine. Oh, stand with us. Because this treatment is a crime. The working people fuel the engine. While you yank the chain, we fight the wars and build the buildings for someone else's gain. So tell me who will stand with us? Minnesota! Sound okay out there? There's that nice Minnesota crowd. Even if it sounds like shit, they would have said yeah. So we'll lighten the mood a little bit right now, if you can ever do that around here. We want to dedicate this next song to the fucking piece of shit in the White House, and it's called First Class Loser! Have you ever had family or a friend that drove you crazy? A foe or a neighbor who's obnoxious, rude, or lazy? The type of guy you'd cross 6 lanes of traffic to avoid. He's always got his hand out. He should be unemployed. You can't ditch him, you can't lose him. There's no place you can hide. He's a bully, he's a jerk, he's everything that we despise. But you can't just tune him out because he's too loud to ignore. When he shows up at your house, you kill the lights and hit the floor. Come on, Minnesota! Cause he's a first class loser. He's a first class loser. He's a first class loser, which nobody can deny. He's a first class loser. He's not our type of guy. His personality's impervious to reason or suggestion. He can't take a hint, and he overstays his welcome. He's nobody's friend, yeah, he's hated by all races. He only cares parks and handicap spaces. 'Cause he's a first class loser. He's a first class loser. He's a first class loser, which nobody can deny. He's a first class loser. He's not our type of guy. We've all got some loser in us, but it ain't a full-time job. I may be a little difficult, but I'm not a total knob. I wanna hit him, bite him, punch him, watch him as he falls. I wanna kick him, smash him, knife him, smash him in the balls. He's a first-class loser, which nobody can deny. He's a first-class loser. He's not our type of guy. He's a first-class loser. He makes me wanna cry. He's a first-class loser. I wouldn't miss him if he... about Donald Trump. We wrote it a long time ago, but man, does it fucking fit the bill to a T.
What's going on, dude?
How you doing? Good to see you,
Good to see you, man. Ken Casey and Dropkick Murphys. We're in Minneapolis. You decided kind of last minute to host a tribute to Alex Pretti and Renee Good. Can you tell us what brought you here? What's going on with the band right now, sure. And what we just did outside.
So we knew we had a show on the schedule, and I got talking with some old friends, some old punk rock skinhead guys from here that we were talking about doing something rogue initially, like coming down and just playing acoustic on the street and just to thank the people. And then once it got on the radar that I think you're going to need a permit, and then. But to the city's credit, I mean, my God, they took the ball and ran with it and turned it from what we thought would just be coming down and playing for half an hour into an event and a fundraiser. And, and as much as this is a protest day, it's also a celebration of the neighborhood and their resistance. I mean, just the people of Minnesota have made the country so proud to see how they stood up and fought back against, an attack on our freedoms. And I look at it as, if you're in this vicinity, you need to come here. Also to see the memorial as a way of just paying tribute and, with your own eyes, bearing witness to what happened, because this will be something that will never be forgotten in our history. And to have lived through this time is horrible and scary, but also want to be able to look back and say that we did the right thing by those people that sacrificed their lives,
Yeah. So just a few minutes ago, we went outside and saw the Alex Pretti memorial area. It's something that you just said before when we were talking, that it's kind of like the 9/11 memorial.
Yeah.
Like you have to see it.
Should be there to see it. Yeah.
I mean, I've got goosebumps right
Same.
now.
I got them going on too.
Just thinking about what I saw out there. I mean, there was little bracelets with messages like "protect your neighbors." There was his last words like "Are you okay?" written out there. There's nurses' uniforms hanging. What is it that you saw out there that you connected with the most?
To see, I obviously understand that was a human being helped. We all saw it with our own two eyes. But to see a man that was then vilified, the most disgusting, aside from obviously the fact that his life was taken, the fact that he was then vilified by our government, by the very people that killed him, when that memorial shows everything. It's kindness. This was a man that was just brave, you know what I mean? Helping a woman in need. And, if that doesn't make you emotional, it's just, that could be any one of us, and hopefully would be any one of us if put in that very position. And but it wouldn't be everyone, because it takes a special breed to step up and do that, I'm sure. I'm sure a lot of people in this community, would have done the same and were showing up and representing and fighting every day. But, Alex, Renee Good, and all the other people that have been killed on the streets by ICE and in ICE custody, or because they weren't receiving proper care and treatment in ICE custody. I mean, what are we doing? Yeah. What are we doing? It's America. Like, what? We have lost all standing on the world stage in every way at this point. We are the people that we used to point the finger at. Yeah. So where do we go from here? I don't know. But but the other thing that I think is helpful at these protests and at these memorials is it gives you that little bit of a reminder of the sense of community. You know what I mean? Because when you're reading the news and you're watching the news and you're hearing the horrors, it separates us, it defeats us. But like days like today, you see the humanity, and we all need that. You know what I mean? To recharge our batteries.
So I've seen this crowd out here growing all day. There are thousands of people outside who are deeply connected with what happened to Alex Pretti. Right now, as we're speaking, there's a bunch of veterans on stage with VA doctors, including docs who worked with Alex Pretti.
United States Air Force, I am. My name is Michael Wilson. I'm the Executive Culinary Director of Pimento Jamaican Kitchen up the street.
Alex was a friend of mine and a friend of all of us at the VA, and we cared about him. And I want to thank everyone for being here. I want to thank the band for being here to raise awareness and to keep our community together. Minneapolis is the best. Love you all.
Pretti was someone who worked in the ICU. He saw a lot of veterans in their final moments, and he helped them pass as peacefully as he could. I looked at Alex Pretti's murder, and I've seen so many in the United States. I mean, right here in Minneapolis, we had George Floyd, Renee, Nicole Good. And Alex Pretti hits different for me because I am a veteran, because I am someone that he served. I am part of the population that he tried to help. Can you tell us what you experienced when you were just overseas in your tour? What does it look like from the outside? Are the people in Europe who you just performed in front of, like, what are they looking at? Do they see themselves in us? Do they see fascism coming to them from the United States right now?
I see a little bit of a shift in the Europeans' perspective on Americans. They treat Americans they view us almost as hostages in a way, and with a sympathetic mentality, but it's also starting to shift into a negative way of like, when are you guys going to do what you need to do? Yeah. Like, we understand you didn't maybe vote for this or whatever, but like, are you gonna allow this to happen to the world? And I don't know what the next step is, but we need to do more than we're doing. And Europeans and the whole world is starting to be like, let's go, man. Yeah. This can't fly. You're talking about this midterm stuff. Like, will there be a midterm? What will that really change? And if this president makes it to the end of 4 years, where are we going to be then? Because
I mean, I think what the history of Europe and fascism in Europe taught us was that it's not enough to protest. It's not enough to vote. Like, these are critical parts of democracy that we have to engage in. We have to do this. We have to talk. There has to be dialogue. But there's also got to be resistance. I mean,
and from the American side, there's that generation of like younger people. I've watched the movies. The good guy wins. Fascism gets defeated, and it's like, tell that to the people who lived under Franco for all those years or whoever. It's like, it doesn't necessarily end without a lot of pain, and sometimes it's not overnight. So like, people need to get up and do their part. Like, there's no room for silence. I don't care. Like, I used to have hopes of like, oh man, we can unify, each other, and in a perfect world that would happen. But you know what? From my perspective, I'm going to say what I'm going to say at all costs. If at this point, if it alienates any friend or family, then whatever. You know what I mean? You gotta speak the truth, because there's this like just narrative that is like put people into submission of like they either don't want to deal with it, the onslaught, if they speak up, or what's happened to them is just what fascists want to happen. You throw so much shit at the fan that people just become overwhelmed and desensitized, and they just have to shut it off for their own mental well-being, and we can't shut it off, can't turn a blind eye.
So since we last talked, there's been Americans getting murdered in the streets by federal agents. We also just kicked off a couple new wars, right? Like we went in and took out Maduro without Congress having any idea what was going to happen. We just decapitated the government of Iran, setting off what could be another forever war. Do you think that we're reaching a point where the working class is going to recognize we're all under threat and start to stand up and get off the sidelines?
Well, the levers of government have failed us. The Constitution is failing us at the moment, because people in government aren't doing their job. I will say from the stage, when I say what I say every night, we played East Moline, Illinois last night, and I had people coming up and saying, I am a conservative and I agree with what you said. And it gets to that, let's point the finger up, because why are we letting this elite group of powerful billionaires do this to us? Mm-hmm. So I think we might be, if the wars, murdered citizens, pedophilia. Yeah. If all these things don't unite us against, what will? What is the breaking point? I'm at the breaking point. You're at the breaking point. I know a lot of the country's at the breaking point. I hope we're all ready to rise up.
Well, Ken, I grew up with your music. I mean, when I first met you, I got to tell you that I missed the first concert because I got knocked out at the Warped Tour.
That's my kind of guy.
Was not looking to get into the pit. I don't know what happened. I got knocked out, but it was a good time. I woke up just as you were getting off stage. So Dropkick Murphys has always been an important thing to me. I can't thank you enough for putting in the work for decades, man. This is it was a critical part of my youth, and I'm over the hill now, and it's really fucking cool to have you still doing the same thing.
This is what punk rock is about. This is the moment that listening my whole life to these lyrics and standing up to bands singing about standing up to oppressive governments or to Nazis or whatever. It was like that was the music that hit me, and so I almost feel like 30 years of Dropkick Murphys was almost like training camp for the moment we're in now, and I wish that wasn't where we were, but like in some ways looking back, it goes, wow, like this was all just to prepare us for this moment, as a band, because I'm proud and honored that we can be in the position we are to step into the role we've tried to fill in all this, and it's obviously a minute role, but maybe it inspires another band or another person, and that's how it all grows. And eventually, we have the numbers to put our foot down collectively.
Well, thank you, brother.
Thank you, Chris. Appreciate it. Thank you.
We put out an album over the summer called For the People, and a lot of the songs are about what's going on right now, and it's about standing up, because I guess Dropkick Murphys have been a band for 30 years, and we've always spoke up on behalf of the people and on working people and regular people. And looking back at the whole 30 years, it makes it seem like, man, was this all just like a warm-up for the moment we're in now? You know what I mean? Because punk rock needs to meet this moment right now, and that's why we're here. Want to dedicate this next one to all the veterans here today, and all the veterans out there that have served. Never forget those guys. a lot of good friends here today in particular. This one's called The Workers' Song.
Yeah, this one's for the worker who toils night and day, by hand and by brain, to earn your pay, who for centuries long past, for no more than your bread, have bled for your countries and counted your dead. In the factories and mills, in the shipyards and mines, we've often been told to keep up with the times, for our skills are not needed. They've streamlined the job, and with slide rule and stopwatch, our pride they have robbed. We're the first ones to stop, we're the first ones to die, we're the first ones in line for that pie in the sky, and we're always the last when the cream is shed out. For the worker is working when the fat cat's about. And when the sky darkens and the prospect is war, who's given a gun and then pushed to the fore and expected to die for the land of our birth, though we've never owned one lousy handful of earth. We're the first ones to stop, we're the first ones to die, we're the first ones in line for that pie in the sky, and we're always the last when the cream is shed out. For the worker is working when the fat cat's about. Minnesota's own Campbell Webster on the bagpipe. I'm just kidding, he's from New Hampshire, but I say that every day. We're the first ones to stop, we're the first ones to die, we're the first ones in line for that pie in the sky, and we're always the last when the cream is shed out. For the worker is working when the fat cat's about. We're the first ones to stop, we're the first ones to die, we're the first ones in line for that pie in the sky, and we're always the last when the cream is shed out. For the worker is working when the fat cat's about. And all of these things the worker has done, from tilling the field to carrying the gun. We've been yoked to the plow since time first began, and always expected to carry the can.
Kathy, thank you so much for joining us. Kathy, Griffin, and I remember you from the USO tours.
Yeah.
So you're not just parachuting
I
in
went
here.
to Iraq and Afghanistan. I even went to Uzbekistan.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did, and you
Anybody?
didn't. Nobody else did.
Kathy has had our backs for a long time, and we're here today to make sure that Alex's legacy is honored, not just how and where he gave his life, but what he spent his life doing, which was taking care of our brothers and sisters, in some cases in their last moments at the Minneapolis VA. I know we got some Minneapolis VA patients right here. Chris, I want to hand it over to you. You have said often that the VA saved your life. I'm sure it was nurses like Alex who were by your side in some of those moments. Please share your thoughts, and then Kathy, we want to hear from you.
Okay.
I mean, like Ken said, the VA saved my life, and I mean that in the most literal sense. I came out of the military a shell of myself, a different person. And I was in a lot of pain. Pain that lasted day and night for years. It took a very long time for me to even start feeling like I wasn't stuck anymore. It was the VA, it was VA employees who genuinely cared about me, who were taking jobs that paid less than the private sector because they felt a duty to serve their country. There are millions of Americans now who have served in the post 9/11 era because they were motivated to fight, to go get revenge, right? That's what I did. I was 16 when 9/11 happened, could see the smoke from my house as a New Yorker. There are other folks who, instead of running towards the fight, ran towards the fire and wanted to help people. And Alex Pretti was one of those people. He's just 2 years younger than me. He had seen laid to rest, I don't know how many veterans, but he was there in their final moments. As someone who has seen people in their last moments, I know that that is an incredible weight. And that is the weight that he carried outside across the street as an ICE agent assaulted a woman, and he went to pick her up and asked if she was okay. And for that, he was murdered. He was murdered by the government that we're paying taxes to right now. He's murdered by the government that our fellow Americans voted in. We are still a democracy with all of its flaws, all of its ugly warts. And Minneapolis has been suffering for months with so many nameless people, folks who never get the attention for the suffering that they've gone through. And that's why we're here now. After the headlines have erased from the national media, we want to draw more attention here, and we want to focus people's attention on the fact that people here still need help. So folks need to know that they can go to abolish.ice.live, not just to watch the show, which I hope they all do, but to also donate. All of the money is being processed by Veterans Fighting Fascism. We're not taking anything. We're giving it all to the local communities. People are providing direct services to immigrant communities that have been getting harassed and assaulted by ICE, to teachers who are raising money, buying food and feeding their students who are afraid to go to school. This right here is community. This right here is family. And I am so proud to be among you. So many of you swooped in with less than a week's notice. And that means a lot to me, and I know it's going to mean a lot to the people in the crowd today. For you to drop everything, to come here without hesitation, you're answering the call the same way that Alex Pretti did. So thank you. Kathy?
Hi, you guys. I'm Kathy Griffin, the comedian. I'm so honored to be here. I did a show last night at the Fitzgerald in St. Paul. I know it seems like you guys only have me and Mark Ruffalo at the moment, but I wish I had a bigger microphone, but with the microphone that I have, I'm touring all over the country and Canada. I want you guys to know that ICE is the #1 story on Canadian TV. So I truly believe the news about what is still happening primarily in this state is being suppressed. Remember, Meta, Facebook, owns Facebook, Instagram, and Threads. Jeff Zuckerberg is a Trumper. Elon, Trumper. And so there's a reason you guys aren't Christian Amanpour should be here. David Muir should be here. A 5-star general should be, 4-star general should be here with, speaking out about what's really happening. So I will continue to use the microphone that I have. I talk about it. Some people post and say we're sick of you being so political, but you guys are everybody's story. And I want to say thank you for leading the way for all of us. And, for the world to watch Alex Pretti get murdered in cold blood, and we don't even know the names of the dudes that murdered him. And this guy was a nurse at the VA. I used to be a candy striper, by the way. This guy was a nurse, a real job, and did nothing but help people. So in my little way, I'm going to keep this spotlight on you guys. keep posting, even though TikTok is owned by a fucking Ellison and a Murdoch now. Keep posting whatever you can, and thank you for being the example for the rest of us, because we know we're next. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thanks, Kathy.
We got your back too, Kathy. I want to give a shout out to the veterans, to the nurses, to the teachers, to the child care specialists, to the restaurant owners, to the ones seeking asylum, to all Americans who are looking for life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Are we all deserving? Say yes.
Showing up, man. This shit, like someone just gave me one of these, like, watch how heavy that is if they're shooting at people. Like,
This is what Bavino was throwing all over the place.
Jesus. If that fucking hitting people alone could kill someone, man.
Did you
fucking
take a minute?
How's everyone in the back? Can you hear us back there? Hell yeah! You know, there's a nationwide live stream going on today, all right? Let them hear ya! Would you mind if we try to play a song we never played before? A brand new song. It's about the irony of how the term patriotism has been twisted and manipulated in this country. And it's an effort to reclaim what patriotism should be about. It should be about community, of helping your neighbors, being kind to others. All the things that America has fucking said it's supposed to be about over the years. Whether it was ever true is debatable anyway, but you know. All right, so here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna do this together. If we fuck it all up, don't tell anyone and don't post it anywhere, all right?
It's open on the live stream.
Oh shit, the live stream, damn it!
That's gonna outlast us all.
Well, here we go anyway. So it's called Don't Call Me a Fucking Terrorist. I work my job, I pay my taxes, help the poor, I support my wife and family, welcome heroes home for more. And then at night, when I lay my head to rest, I wonder how this land I love calls me a terrorist. Yeah, I wonder how this land I love calls me a terrorist. I love my God and go to church. I get on my knees and pray. Love my neighbor, help them out when hard times come their way. And then at night I sit alone and I think and try my best to understand how this land I love calls me a terrorist. To understand how this land I love calls me a terrorist. I was sure that things were different. Could it be that I've gone mad? All those things I was taught were true and right are suddenly called bad. So I'll just keep loving this country, though I still don't understand how I went to bed a patriot and woke up a wanted man. Minnesota's own Campbell Webster on the harmonica. I went to bed a patriot and woke up a wanted man. I work my job, I pay my taxes, feed the poor, I support my wife and family, welcome heroes home for more. And then at night, when I lay my head to rest, I wonder how this land I love calls me a terrorist. Yeah, I wonder how this land I love calls me. Yeah, I wonder how this land
somebody that has been fundraising for this cause. Give it up for Chris from Veterans Fighting Fascism.
Hey, so my name is Chris Goldsmith, Veterans Fighting Fascism. I'm also part of Valor Media Network, which is streaming this. And got some good news. We have raised over $35,000 today. Now, if you haven't given yet, go to abolish.ice.live and please give. All donations are going straight to this community. We're not taking anything off the top, no processing fees, none of that bullshit, right? So, last thing I just want to say is thank you to all of you, every one of you. The people of Minnesota, the people of Minneapolis, all of the people who've traveled from around the country to just come here and fuck with ICE, thank you. When I started the organization Veterans Fighting Fascism a few years ago, I did not imagine a fascist being in the White House this soon, right? Like, we were a Nazi hunting organization. This city has a fantastic fucking history of fighting Nazis, the Baldies. You guys heard of them? Oh yeah. Right? So it is an honor to be among you. And I am so thankful for your bravery, the compassion that you have shown, and for not waiting for perfect fucking weather. It's a little rainy out here. Right? So every one of you, thank you. You have just a debt of gratitude on behalf of Veterans Fighting Fascism. I want to say that you guys are absolutely fucking inspiring. Right? Every one of you are serving your country in a way that most Americans never fucking will. And the fact that you are doing this against the federal government is saying something. This is an important part of fucking history. You guys, every single one of you are part of it. So again, if you're watching on the live stream, if you're nice and warm in your house right now, I want you to go to abolishice.live, donate so that we can give it to this community. These restaurants have been hurting. These people have been hurting. There are teachers right now who are raising money so that they can buy food to feed their students who haven't gone to class since November because their parents are terrified of them getting kidnapped by masked fucking thugs.
Fuck ICE!
Fuck ICE. So if you haven't donated yet, do it now. Help this community. What is happening here now is going to happen to you next. So stand up for Minnesota, because we're going to need their help soon. Thank you.
Give it up for Chris, Veterans Fighting Fascism.
Gina Christ, owner of the Black Forest Inn, you hosted the Dropkick Murphys tribute concert for Alex Pretti. And I want to thank you, first of all, for hosting us for 2 days. You've also allowed us to film inside a couple of episodes for On Offense. And it's a pleasure to sit down with you and get to talk to you a bit about what this experience has been like. So thank you for being such a gracious host. It's incredible.
You're welcome. It's been a real pleasure. It's great.
So that folks understand, this restaurant is right across the street from the place where Alex Pretti was murdered by a federal agent. And it's become kind of a mecca of sorts for people from the city, the state, and around the country to visit. And the memorial that I went to for the first time yesterday, I've visited it half a dozen times, and every time it is just an absolute gut punch. Everything that I'm seeing there is so clearly put there with care and purpose. I can't imagine what it's like to have been here, to live here during everything that this city has gone through. Can you tell me what you and your business and your people, your employees, your customers have been going through. Because as we're recording this right now, in the beginning of March, this episode might air a month after, I imagine that Minneapolis is still not going to be in the headlines. We're invading other countries. There's a lot of shit going on. What are you guys still experiencing?
That's a really good question. I mean, we're experiencing something very odd because we are a target of our own government. And so it is a very strange sensation to kind of watch the news and have your town or your civic leaders or, you know, your neighbor in the news and think that's not true or that's not at all what's happening, or, you know. So it's been a very surreal sensation to be in Minneapolis since about the week after Christmas, right? That is when kind of Operation Metro Surge, as they call it, started. On this corner, Whittier, each street is a particularly deeply immigrant street, right? So each street has a number of immigrant-owned restaurants. It is deeply rooted in immigrant culture. It has had immigrant-owned restaurants for years and years and years. My dad is a German immigrant, and he started this restaurant in 1965, and some of the other restaurants have been here 30 years, 20 years, you know. And so we knew that eventually we would get the attention of the ICE agents and the Border Patrol. Like, we just knew eventually that they were going to come. And I think quite natural for immigrant populations, the ideal was to kind of stay as quiet as possible and, you know, for as long as possible and see kind of how far we would get. But Whittier, which is the neighborhood that we're in, is one of the densest populated neighborhoods in Minneapolis and has a lot of young people, and they're very activated. So a lot of observers, you know, a lot of very kind of involved people in Whittier. So we quickly became a kind of target. And Renee Good was killed on the 7th. And then rather than kind of give us a break or step back or allow the community to mourn, what ICE and Border Patrol did was quite the opposite. They would do raids within, you know, a block and a half of where they killed Renee Good. You know, they would do them on the same block. There was an increase of activity and kind of a doubling down in this neighborhood and the neighborhood next to us. And then Alex Pretti was killed on the morning of the 24th, is that Saturday morning, the day after the general strike. So we had a general strike on Friday with like 50,000 people in downtown Minneapolis, and everyone just going crazy because it was so cold, and everyone came out, and it was, you know, just this amazing show of organization and solidarity and unity. And then Border Patrol at 9 o'clock the next morning, you know, killed somebody on the corner.
Do you think that Alex Pretti was murdered in retaliation for the way that Minneapolis has stood up for itself?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, yeah. And I don't think Alex Pretti was targeted, right? I think that could have been anybody, and really was going to be anybody. You know, I mean, it was going to be somebody who pulled out their camera and filmed, right? It was going to be somebody who said, "Not on my block." You know, it was just going to be somebody who stood up. And I mean, there wasn't a huge crowd, and there were still 5 camera angles. Right? It was. I mean, everything felt like retaliation at that point. And particularly because there's just been no investigation. So it's kind of obvious that whether or not it was kind of thought of in advance, right? Whether it was premeditated, I obviously cannot say, like, who knows? But that there was no effort to acknowledge any wrongdoing, I think, is because it was retaliatory.
Can you tell us what that day was for your restaurant? Your front door is maybe 75 feet from the exact site where Alex Pretti was murdered?
Yeah, so we were closed, right? So nobody was here, and my parents and I, probably other family members as well, started getting phone calls. I started getting a phone call even before the first text I got that morning was, "It looks like ICE is in your parking lot. Do you have any signs?" Right? Like ICE is staging in your parking lot. And then within 10 minutes of getting that text, it was like, "Oh my God, where are you? Are you okay?" Right? And I was like, I'm home. And then I said, "Oh, there's been a murder." And it was really unclear, as always happens in those emergency situations. Was it a male or a female? Someone's been murdered. Someone's been murdered. Glam Dolls, who is our neighbor, there was an immediate police action. As soon as it went out on signal that somebody had been killed, people started coming.
You fucking murderers! Get out of our city!
And then the Border Patrol tried to control the area. And the Minneapolis police were trying to get jurisdiction of the murder site. All of a sudden on the news and on social media, it is the weirdest thing in the world, because it's like, oh my God, that's my restaurant, that's my corner, that's, like that's where I go get banh mi. Like, what is, and you just see, and it's just smoke. So much smoke that you could see it on the skyline.
Yeah. And you're talking about tear gas.
Tear gas. It was tear gas and smoke bombs. And at some point it became very unclear who was who, right? Where it was just like, who's the police, who's Border Patrol, who's an observer, like what is going on? Yeah. And then things just got really sad really quickly, because all of the video started to come out, and it was like, oh my God, they assassinated somebody on our street. They just killed someone on our street. And the next morning, and we didn't know what that was going to mean for kind of the people in Minneapolis, like how everyone was going to react, and that. And neither did we really know what was happening that whole first day. And we have a staff group chat, and we kind of texted everyone to stay home. And the next morning I woke up really early, and I just thought, oh my God, people need a warm space. Like, people are going to come. They're going to come to the site, and it's cold. It's just cold out, right? It's the middle of December or January, and so. My brother and I came down, my mom came down shortly after, and we just kind of made coffee and threw open our doors and offered people coffee. And when I first got out of my car that morning, it was like 200 people on the street and completely quiet. Like, no one saying a word. So reverent and so tender. And I hadn't really anticipated that. I mean, with all of the whistles and all of the yelling and all of the noise and all of the protest chants, all super necessary and absolutely kind of had become the backdrop. If you were on social media, or it was all anyone, those were all the images of Minneapolis. And then that next morning, it was just completely quiet. And already tons of flowers, like already tons of, flowers and stuffed animals and cards and signs and people, and just 3 deep people, just people, tons and tons and tons of people. It stayed that way for days, that it was just quiet. It was reverent and kind, and people being, happy to be with each other and near each other, and then they would come into the restaurant or one of the local stores, and then that's where people would talk. That's where people would talk with each other. But out on the street, it was completely quiet until Tuesday or Wednesday probably. It might have Wednesday or Thursday. The Solidarity Brass Band played at night, and it was music. first sound, like real lots of sound coming from the street. It was music, it was the Solidarity Brass Band. And that's why I was so excited when the Dropkick Murphys reached out to us, because I thought, oh yeah, music, that is totally the sound that needs to be on the street, you know, because we don't know what to say to each other, or didn't for sure for weeks. Yeah, that's what it's been like. I mean, eventually you need to move forward with both grief and resistance. It's an interesting intersection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've felt it as an outsider, as someone who's just been here for a little over a day as we're recording this. And I could feel it. It's like walking into a bubble, like a cone of silence when you cross the street and go near the memorial. It is profound in the way that I think I felt so connected to this particular murder. Alex Pretti is not the only person that's been murdered by our government, but because he was a VA employee, and because I'm a veteran, and because he was a nurse, he was a caregiver, I felt very connected to this and just so upset, but physically being present is something that it took the wind out of me. And I mean that in the literal sense, like the tightness in the chest. I had no reason to know Alex Pretti halfway across the country, but it hurts, I think, in a way that is hard to understand if you're just seeing this stuff on social media or just seeing it on television. But what I've noticed since I've been here is the people here just call him Alex.
Yeah.
Can you kind of explain that?
I don't know. Yeah, that is it's an interesting observation, because calling him by his full name makes him remote. You know, it's like, you know, and that's not what we are. We are, you know, we're witnesses, and bearing witness it's a holy act, and it breeds familiarity with each other too, you know. And I think in a lot of ways we all felt the same way that you did, that the connection is that he was trying to help someone, which is really all Minneapolis has been doing. You know, like all we're doing is run around trying to help, and then everyone doing it differently, which is what's so beautiful, right? So great that some people are like, I'm going to guard the school, I'm going to run groceries, I'm going to observe, you know, I'm going to pull up my phone, I'm going to do pro bono work. Everyone doing something different, but everyone wanting to help, and that connection breeds a familiarity, you know, that then friend, you know. I mean, then you know, then a closeness. It is. Yeah, I hope we don't, particularly on the corner, particularly here, I hope that we are sad and appropriate, but not victims. And that has always been my hope, right? That like, we aren't victims here. We are, this is creating something else.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't make me feel like, oh, the forces are too powerful, right? It makes me feel like, oh, we're all kind of, that could have been any of us, and we're all up against the same thing, you know? I hope it does for everybody.
Can you tell me how the Dropkick Murphys show that you hosted, can you tell me how that came about?
Hilarious. They reached out to somebody in Minneapolis, and they really wanted to honor Alex or Renee, and Renee really, but they were, weren't sure how to navigate that.
Yeah.
And as it turns out, the place where Renee was killed is much more residential.
Yeah.
And so somebody went up and down the street and he was dropping off business cards saying, I don't know if you know who the Dropkick Murphys are, but they want to do something here. And my mom, who is lovely and 80, and I do not mean this as any, sort of ageism, had no idea who the Dropkick Murphys were and texted like, somebody stopped by and they seemed a little disappointed I didn't know who the Dropkick Murphys were, right? And I was like, I will be right down. What is happening down there, right? I was, well, I have their business card and they said you could call back. And so I called Marty back. It was Marty O'Connor. I called him back and I said, hey, this is Gina from the Black Force. He's like, yeah, I want to talk to you. They want to do something. And we're thinking like a flatbed truck and like rolling into your parking lot and like super punk rock and then we're going to roll out. And I was like, that sounds fantastic, right? That is, and it did remind me of the Brass Solidarity Band. I was like, that's perfect. That's perfect. Music is perfect right now, right? Like you have no idea the effect music has on this corner right now because that's what we need. Because voice, words, they're just failing, right?
Yeah.
They don't do the same thing. And then I met Marty and he said, yeah, you're the only person that called me back, right? And I was like, oh, well, everyone should use their phones for phoning. So I used my phone for phoning, and one thing led to another. I mean, Whittier Alliance, it's like, let me call Whittier Alliance, let me call the city, let me see what we can do. That's not a lot of time, because the date was set. The Dropkick Murphys had a sold-out show. They already had it in Minneapolis. Can we accommodate something in the afternoon? The date was set. That was, so you can get this together in 3 weeks, or you cannot get this together in 3 weeks. And I was like, we can get this together in 3. I can do it. Let's go. So I called Anna at Whittier Alliance, and Anna and Marty and I became kind of 3 musketeers, getting permits, and God bless the Dropkick Murphys, because they brought the media in, right, which is really what changed the tone, right? Because obviously I don't know how to reach, hundreds of thousands of people. That's not, but I do know how to clean a parking lot and get a permit, so like everything else in Minneapolis, we all did the one thing that we could do to make it happen. It was very Minneapolis. And even the city of Minneapolis did what they could to make it happen. And so that's how it came together. Yeah. I know. Someone was like, I can book bands. Like, great, book some bands. I can put a hole in your fence. Fantastic. I need a hole in my fence because people need to get through it. And so that was one thing after another. That's how it came together. It was magnificent. Yeah.
So I don't know if you know this, but as of when I checked the website this morning, as of 7 a.m., we had raised $42,000 for this community.
That is unbelievable. I was wondering. Thank you so much for telling me. It's thrilling because that's really what that is really what we were hoping. We raised money for mutual aid, we raised money for rent relief, we raised money for the small businesses, and then of course we brought people to the small businesses, which was really fun. And for lawyers who are going to be working hopefully long after the rest of us are done. We thought, well, the lawyers are going to be working for a really long time. So yeah, I'm thrilled to hear that. And I'm so grateful because everything is, it helps us feel like we're not alone, that it's like, oh yeah, no, people are watching. They do know, they are with us. We are not in this alone. It's wonderful.
So the name of the show is On Offense. The goal is to teach people how to stop playing the game of defending democracy. How is it that Americans from around the country who are listening to this, how can they go on offense for our democracy? How can they help you out? How can they help Minnesota out?
I knew that was your thing, and I still didn't expect you to ask me that question. That is a really good question. I am very, very proud of how Minneapolis and Minnesota has used video. I mean, and even when it started, when I resolved, I'm going to do one thing a day. I'm going to do one thing a day to help people out, to help my neighbor out, to help this out. It was really, those first couple of days, it took a remarkable amount of bravery, even though what I was doing was really small. You know, like the feeling that the forces were working against me, you know, just kind of, and then you, of course, get used to it. You get a little bit more courageous. You get a little bit more courageous. And even just that taking out your phone and videotaping, it's like it takes courage. I acknowledge it takes courage, right? I acknowledge that that's not an easy thing to do if you think there's going to be a consequence, or if you're frightened of a consequence, or if, you know, if they're filming you too and you think, safety if I don't do anything. That internal idea that if I don't do anything, I'll be safe is a falsehood. And it, you know, that the courage that builds every day, just like today I'm going to put a sign in my window. Today I'm going to write a postcard to I'm ADD enough that I toggled around. Other people had like 3 shifts a week at their school, which is terrific. That's great. I was not that consistent. I was like, I'm buying groceries today. I'm, you know, giving someone a ride today. You know, and the things that were frightening were legitimately frightening, because of what I believed the consequence could be. And, you know, and of course that's the terror of what happened to Alex. Of course it is. Of course that's the terror of it. But it gets easier. It gets easier every day. It is remarkable how quickly you build courage. It is to go from like, I don't even want to hurt an ICE officer's feelings per se, you know what I mean? To go from that to like, yeah, someone's got to film this, right? Like someone has to whip their camera out, or someone, you know, like someone has to stop and ask what's going on. Is everyone okay here? You know, someone, you know, it's like someone has to do it. So, it's harder than you think to start, and then easier than you think to keep going. Yeah. I think is what I would say. That's my answer right now, today.
That's the perfect answer, I think. I am trying to convince people that they should look to Minnesotans right now, look to the city of Minneapolis, and know that what you have experienced, we will soon be experiencing. ICE is expanding. They're growing.
Yep.
And I think
and they have immunity.
Yeah.
You know, and they act like it. You know, so when they come, you'll know it.
Yeah.
It's fascinating.
So Gina, owner of the Black Forest Inn and gracious host, thank you so much for having us. I really appreciate you taking the time to sit for this interview. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for taking the time with me. You're welcome.
Listen, we got one song left. Once again, community, this is what it's all about, man. Hug your fucking neighbor, hug your neighbor. God bless you all. We'll never forget what we saw with our own eyes. We'll never forget what we've seen here today. Thank you for allowing us to come bear witness with you. Thank you, Minnesota. I'm a Santa Fe, and I lost my leg. Climbing up the top sails, I lost my leg. Are y'all ready to sing this with us? up the fight. Keep inspiring us. God bless you. Hopefully someone else.
Thank you, Ken. Thank you. It's so much fun. Great show, man.
Great show.
Awesome.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Oh, that's nice.
Thanks for coming out, man. Much appreciated. Yes, definitely.
If you want to see the full picture of what happened here, you can still watch the entire concert, the recorded live stream at abolishice.live. And if you're able, you can donate there as well. Every dollar goes directly to supporting the community on the ground. I want to say thank you to everyone who made this event possible. The organizers, the volunteers, and the people of Minneapolis who showed up for each other and refused to back down. And a very special thank you to my producer, Gina Kim, and our videographer, Jonathan Klett, for helping bring this story to life. They've put weeks of work into this episode. And of course, we're so incredibly grateful to the Dropkick Murphys for putting on the show and then letting us bring their music to you. And of course, I'm thankful to you for listening to this episode and for giving a damn about your fellow man. If you haven't yet, make sure that you subscribe to Valor Media Network on YouTube and to On Offense wherever you get your podcasts. This is what it looks like when people take care of each other. Stay engaged, stay informed,